I'm sitting here drinking my morning coffee right now. I'm actually about to head out to go look at another deal. I got something lined up. I'm ready to roll. I don't know exactly what deal I'm gonna take, but I know I'm ready to take one. I need to get things rolling. Whatever I can get a good deal on, I'm gonna go ahead and take it. So I'm about to go take a hard look at another deal. This might be a good one, so it might be time to go. But this morning, I was taking a look at my ideas. What do my business plans look like? What do I got going on? And so, and also something interesting that I just kind of came across. But I was actually just in the YouTube universe, and I guess one of these videos just popped up. But it was like a Ronnie Coleman. Or it was like these super high level bodybuilders, not power lifters but bodybuilders. And these bodybuilders, I mean, they're a good example of what it looks like to prepare, because it's like when they're getting ready for Mr. Olympia or whatever, what is it, the universe, I forget what they call it, but it's like their big competition. And they're getting ready for this thing. They're like weighing out exactly how much food they're eating. They're measuring exactly everything that they're in terms of like they use steroids and things like that, and they're measuring exactly how much they're putting in their body. You know, they're getting exams done all the time to make sure that they're not gonna drop dead or anything like that. They're legitimately they're dialing it in to a very high level, and that's how it's got to be. I think a lot of people don't understand that when you start getting towards the higher levels, don't look at some worthless bum. All right, I'm not saying everybody's a worthless bum, but a lot of people end up becoming a borderline worthless bum. All right, you don't want to ask some guy who has zero idea what they're doing what you should be doing, because if you ask that person, they're not going to know what to tell you. All right, and I know that sounds horrible, and I've already talked about this. I talk about this all the time. Watching people fail is not funny. To me, it's not funny. It's actually kind of sad. And a majority of people have kind of just given up. Let's just be honest with ourselves. A lot of people aren't sitting there, well, what am I going to be? What do I want to see myself doing in 50 years? What am I going to do every single day to move my life forward? I want to see my life move in a positive direction. I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil, etc., etc. A lot of people barely scraping it to get by. I mean, borderline desperate. I mean, we're talking about 1 foot away from being homeless. They have one major issue and boom, they're homeless. I'm not saying that in terms of a way to like make fun of people. I'm not saying that because I'm a malicious individual. I'm saying that is a lot of you are going to have to deal with. If you actually want to go out into the world and make it, you're going to have to deal with this too. That's the thing that you have to understand. You're probably I mean, I don't know what else to tell you than to just say I don't save people. All right, a lot of people, by the time that it's just become very problematic for them. It's almost always too late, and they've become desperate, and now they're gonna they'd be more than happy to eat other people alive just to keep themselves afloat, and it can't be like that. I mean, you got to have a long-term idea for yourself. You got to think about what you want to do, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. And I actually so I wanted to talk about my formula. I'm not bashing people, all right? That's the thing. It's like I don't think that the world is, I actually think that the world is capable of doing phenomenally incredible things. I really do. I think humanity has a capacity to do incredible things. And I believe that it is a very important, to be a human being, I believe that it is very important to actually want to see it, I believe that it is actually very important to come across the conclusion that you would like to see humanity do well. All right, you would like to see humanity do well over the long period of the eternity that you would like to see humanity do well. I believe that that's very important. I believe that I want to see people do well. Okay, I want to see people do well. I want to see humanity do well for until the ends of time. All right, I really want to see humanity do well. I don't want to see humanity get nuked off the face of the earth. I'm not maliciously predating on people. I'm not making fun of you because I'm not making fun of people, right? I'm legitimately, I am doing this with the intentions of, I would like to see humanity do better. All right. And also, I'm also in a situation where I legitimately have zero money problems. I don't have to worry about money. It doesn't matter to me. All right. I mean, money, the thing is that me, at the end of the day, it is what it is. You don't like it, you can sue me. I legitimately, I make enough money to do whatever the heck I want. All right, and I'm in a situation right now where I can actually, I'm actually looking to do my next deal. And so I'm going to talk about my formula for budgeting for cattle. And I wanted to talk about the idea of this because I believe that if I talk about this, it will actually make it easier or it will actually, you can actually go and develop your own formula and figure out what you should be paying for cattle. So here is my formula. And y'all know that I talk about the feeder cattle market, the cattle market here in Texas. Is that, well, this number right here, this feeder cattle number, it's actually a commodity number. If you go on the internet right now and you type feeder cattle price, that is what this number is. Feeder cattle are actually a global commodity, right? I've talked about this all the time. Feeder cattle is a global commodity. If you want to figure out what feeder cattle are trading for, you can go on the stock market right now and look up the price on the internet. And that feeder cattle price, that's for an 800-pound number one type commodity steer. And in my local market, animals are valued at a little bit less than the overall average of the market. And so I take a 10% deduction. So I take a 10% deduction and then I cut that number in half because effectively when I raise the animal, I want to double my money. All right. And so that's why I cut it in half. I want to double my money, so I cut it in half. And so effectively, if I buy an animal in my local market at its local market price, at its price in the market, then I take a 10% deduction off of the broader market, and then I cut that number in half. And then when I get done raising that animal, I actually double my money. And so a good way to develop an idea of what feeder cattle sell for in your local area is to just go to a sell barn, sit at a few sell barns, and then just sit there a couple of times, and then take a look around and wait until they start selling the stocker animals. Wait until they start selling the yearlings, and then when you're in that sell barn, take a look around and just kind of sit in the very back. And keep an eye out for who is buying the most cattle. All right. When you're in a room, you need one of the most effective ways to learn how to effectively do something is, well, I mean, when you're in that sell barn, just sit there and just take a look around and find effectively the richest man in the room. All right. Find the richest man in the room. Find the guy in the room who actually knows what he's doing, and just keep an eye on him. And see what kind of cattle he buys. And you got to wait until they're selling the stocker cattle. You got to wait until they're selling the yearling cattle. And then what you're looking for is when he starts buying about 800-pound animals. What you're looking for is when they start buying about 800-pound animals at about the feeder cattle price. So if you see an 800-pound animal run across the ring, and that animal weighs 800 pounds, just about 800 pounds, and the feeder cattle market is sitting at a 250, 260. When that animal goes running across the ring, and you see that guy or that person pay 260 for that animal, just take a note of that animal. Mentally take a note of that animal. Here's an 800-pound animal that this man paid 260 for. And that is more than likely a number one type feeder animal. All right, you know, a lot of these guys at the sale barns, they really know how to choose their animals. Not everybody, but the real good ones know how to do it. So but just sit there and take a look at what's going on, and get an idea for what a feeder cattle animal looks like in your market. And if a bunch of 800-pound animals get sold and they sell for under the feeder cattle price, if you see a bunch of animals sell at 800 pounds and they're getting sold for under the feeder cattle price, then you know that your market is probably under the average. And if you see a bunch of animals at 800 pounds sell for over the feeder cattle price, your market is probably over the average. So either which way, you can gauge it, and then you can develop your own formula. And so this is the formula that I use, and that's why I do it. My market is under average. The price of the animal is under the broader average, so I take a 10% deduction, and then I cut that number in half. Because the big idea is that when I take a look at the 800-pound feeder animal at number one type feeder animal, and then I cut that number in half, when I raise that animal, effectively I double my money. And I'm probably going to get about this much when the animal is at about 850 pounds. And so I want to talk about my bigger business idea. Take a look at the finer details. I'm actually going to go and take a look at a deal. I'm going to go take a look at a deal today. And so almost always, my animals put on about 75 pounds a month, okay? That's about what my animals put on all the time. And the big idea is that I want to start them at 200 and I want to take them to 850. And that's 75 pounds a month. It just is what it is. That's about what the animals put on. And so 200 to 850 pounds will take me 9 months. All right, it would take me 8.7 months. But when the animals first get here for the first 2 weeks or so, they're not really having a good time. So they're not going to be putting on a whole bunch of weight. So I just tacked on the extra 0.34. So it's going to take me about 9 months, or I'm going to be running about 1.3 cattle a year. And on 50 acres with the current business plan, if I run 2 cattle per acre, and the average weight of the animal is going to be in the middle of 200 and 850, so that would be 525 pounds. And so that means on 50 acres, if I run 50 acres of land, I would have 100 cattle at a time, or 130 cattle a year. And at a lowball estimate profit of $700 an animal, that would be $91,000 a year. All right, $700 an animal, $91,000 a year. If I take a loan for 50 acres at $10,000 an acre, if I take a loan for $10,000 an acre at 50 acres, that's $500,000. The yearly cost of that loan is going to be $44,000. And so my net is going to be about $47,000 a year. And the thing about my net is that if I just want, in the cattle business, I was talking to the accountant and he was saying that the cattle business is a money in, money out business. So if I invest $1 in the cattle business, then I don't have to pay taxes on that entire dollar. So this money right here, if I actually don't reinvest this money, I take the 47 grand and I hold on to it, and then I take a loan for 47 grand and I hold on to the 47 grand and then I invest the loan instead of the cash. Then I will actually be holding on to $47,000 of cash, and I would also have $47,000 worth of animals, but I would be at a net zero. And at that point, I could just hold on to the money. And if something goes horribly wrong, I can put the money back in the business. But if nothing goes wrong, if things go regular, if things just go kind of okay, if things just kind of go all right, then I can hold on to the money, and I could just take that money out of the business, and then just invest with the loan so that I don't have to pay taxes on any of it. So, legally not pay taxes on any of it by investing a loan instead of investing the money. And so I would make about $47,000 a year net profit on about 50 acres. And the $700, it's a reasonable lowball estimate, because realistically, like if I took the formula right now and I ran the numbers, I mean, I would be paying about $1,000 per animal. And if I pay 1,000 per animal, and I take that animal from 200 pounds to 850 pounds, and I just use the formula, then that animal, if I pay $1,000 for that animal, I'll get $2,000 for that animal, and then I deduct $300 per animal. And just to get an idea of how unreasonable $300 per animal is if we plug that $300 into here, $300 would mean that would be like 40 grand. That would be like $39,000 a year of expenses for raising 100 animals. And just to get an idea of what that looks like, if I were to buy a shipping container full of corn that would last all of the animals an entire year, that would cost me about 5 grand. For me to fertilize, okay, because here's the thing about growing grass is that really I have about 8 months out of the year to grow grass, all right? And over the long-term average, I use about maybe one tonnage of fertilizer a month, something like that. And 1 tonnage of fertilizer a month costs about $550 a ton per 10 acres. And so if I were going to fertilize 50 acres, that would be about $2,800. Let's just multiply it by the average by 8. Yeah, you know, I grow grass about 8 months out of the year. 2 months out of the year, it's 3 months out of the year, it's blazing hot, and then 1 or 2 months out of the year, it's too cold. So I don't fertilize when it's blazing hot, and I don't fertilize when it's freezing cold. So let's just say 550 times 5, that would be 2,750 times 8. That would be like 20 grand. So, you know, so realistically, you know, saying that my expenses are going to be 39 grand is not realistic. I mean, realistically, my expenses are going to be around maybe about 30 grand. Okay, so I mean, we're overshooting the but I mean, you know, who knows, right? I mean, 10 grand you know, well, I mean, it's a reasonable estimate, okay? It's a reasonable estimate. So, you know, and the thing is that if I run 2 animals an acre, I could probably bale my own hay as well. If I only run 2 animals an acre, I can more than likely bale my own hay. So, etc., etc. It's a reasonable. These are reasonable estimates, all right. And 10 grand is not going to make or break my business plan, so I'm not worried about the 10 grand. You know, maybe if I have I'm looking to work on my onboarding program for my animals and etc., etc. Sometimes I get an animal for cheaper. Sometimes I get an animal, sometimes I buy a sick animal, etc., etc. It all just kind of evens out. All right, $700 per animal as a low ball estimate is very reasonable. And so this is what my numbers look like per 50 acres. Per acre that I farm, I make about $1,000 a year. That's a very easy way to look at it with the current market. If I farm a field, I make about $1,000 an acre a year net profit. So that's what my numbers look like, and I'm gonna go and take a look at a deal. I got a lot of things lined up. I'm ready to go. I'd like to get this thing rolling. I'm not exactly sure what kind of deal I'm gonna take, but when you actually take a look at it, to me, land is free. All right, land is free. Land is free. So that's I'd like to make myself an extra $50,000 a year, right? I mean, that'd be fantastic. That's an extra $4,000 a month of net take-home pay. That's how much money I bring home every month. That'd be fantastic if I bring home an extra $4,000 a month. That'd be great, right? I mean, and then I could take that money and then I could buy whatever the heck I want with it as well, right? I can maybe even go and buy myself 100 acres, right? And then, but it doesn't matter how much money. It doesn't matter how many acres I buy. If it's 10,000 an acre or less, then I make money on it. All right, I make money on it. I'm not even worried about it. There's a substantial profit margin in it, etc., etc. So the cattle market's not going to zero. All right, I've already talked about this. Your T-bone steak is not going to be free. All right, etc., etc. So This is what my business plan looks like. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna go take a look at another deal, and I'm gonna get everything rolling. And so that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.